Hey everyone, Steve Britton here with my, I guess this is my Friday podcast. Normally, of course, it's done live, but today, because of the fact that I had some commitments this morning, I'm having to do it later on in the day, such as now. So, with that being said, I'll be going back to doing my regular scheduled live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. And don't forget, of course, that you can also find me online. You can find me on Facebook with the page name Steve Speaks Freely. And you can find me on the Twitters. You can find me on Patreon. You can find me on Minds.com, all with the same handle, at SCBritton. And I wanted to talk today a little bit about the extended fallout from the whole Jordan Peterson, Lindsay Shepherd saga at Wilfrid Laurier University. Now, the backstory, of course, is Lindsay Shepherd showed 5 minutes from a publicly available TV debate between Jordan Peterson and another individual that had been recorded on TVO. I have seen this debate, and it's two people discussing different opinions about gender pronouns and the appropriateness of using these brand new constructed gender neutral pronouns such as she and they and je and whatever. By the way, my preferred gender pronoun, just so that we're all clear, is majestic. You may refer to me as Your Majesty, or if you're referring to me in the third person, His Majesty. So with that being said, of course, there was a scheduled protest rally in support of free speech and Lindsay Shepherd at Wilfrid Laurier. It was scheduled for today. And, of course, this group known as the Revolutionary Students Movement posted a message, or put a thing on their Facebook page about going down to disrupt this rally for free speech because it was contrary to their ideology. But this is the way, and it was, of course, deleted once the social media community got wind of this. But that goes to show you just what these people are like and how they behave with respect to people who don't think like them. And that's a serious problem. So that's one of the issues. And they did post a letter, which was actually posted by the WLU Rainbow Center, which I guess would be their gay and lesbian association. So And I wanted to talk a bit about this because I wanted to draw attention to the language that these social justice warriors use, because this language, it's very combative and it is very aggressive in nature, and it goes to show as well what they think about the ideas of others that are contrary to their own. Now, I'm going to read bits of this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I simply don't have time for that, and probably neither do you. But there are aspects of it that I think we should look into. So this begins. Dear Laurier community, in the face of recent media attention, we feel it is our responsibility to speak out against the climate of transphobia that is being fostered at Laurier. The university's silence on these issues has allowed for a one-sided perspective to be cultivated in the media, and that is entirely disconnected from the experiences of trans people. We speak now as a collective of queer and trans students, asking you to engage critically with the media you read and hold our community with care. Now, this is of course, this is the first paragraph. And it says the collective. We are one, right? And that's how they think. They think we are a group, we are a cohesive unit, we are together, and we are united in this. When in actual fact, they definitely are not. There are people who are trans that are of all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, all viewpoints on the issue, just like there are conservative gay people and liberal gay people. So they're not a cohesive unit. They're not a solidarity movement by any stretch of the imagination. Like anybody else, they are individuals. But listen to the way they're framing this argument. Here's a climate of transphobia that is being fostered. One person presenting a video of 5 minutes of a debate in the context of gendered pronouns is now fostering a climate of transphobia. Like they're escalating the whole thing to as high a level as they can. They're being hyperbolic, and this is intentional, right? They're saying that the media is completely disconnected from the experiences of trans people. Maybe so, because very few people are trans. The rest of us are just people. By the way, trans people are people as well. They are people with gender dysphoria, which is a diagnosable psychological or psychiatric condition. It is in the DSM. It exists in there as a disorder. So it is a diagnosable condition. Suicide rates amongst trans people, and this letter refers to it, 34% of youth who are trans have been, one-third rather, so 33%, have attempted suicide. But you know what they don't say? They don't say that the suicide and attempted suicide rate after surgery is the same as it is before surgery, which says that the surgery and actually the gender change does not help people with their mental state one iota. So consider that. But listen to this paragraph. The discourse of freedom of speech is being used to cover the underlying reality of transphobia that is so deeply ingrained in our contemporary political context. Ironically, these discourses seem intent on silencing those who speak out against the systemic violence perpetrated against trans people by propagating a far-right ideology. In fact, recent empirical studies conducted by White and Crandall have shown that freedom of speech endorsement is predicated, or they say predicted, but I think they mean predicated, but is predicted by underlying prejudicial attitudes. So what are they saying in this paragraph? Well, they're saying freedom of speech is being used to cover the underlying reality of transphobia. So they're saying freedom of speech is being used as a shield against transphobia. So therefore, freedom of speech must be bad. They talk about who speak out against, and these discourses seem intent on silencing those who speak out against the systemic violence. I speak out against systemic violence all the time. Many people speak out against violence all the time. It's these guys who want to silence people who speak out against their position by saying you shouldn't say that, or by trying to physically silence them. Think bike locks. Think Antifa. Think the violence we have seen. Think the plans to, think about the fact that people have pulled fire alarms to try and prevent people from engaging in meetings. We continue on here. There's more. This is the next paragraph down here. We must therefore be critical of the ways in which trans bodies are being appropriated as the battleground on which the war of freedom of speech is waged. Listen to what they're saying there. Battleground, appropriating trans bodies, war. They're using this language intentionally. They're using this language because they want to escalate this to the level of cultural or even physical warfare to justify their response, which is usually a violent one. Debates about gender-neutral pronouns or the validity of trans identities are not only discussions about disallowable speech, but also affronts on the reality of trans experience. So saying that I disagree with using a she or je or thar or there or majesty is insulting to trans people. Oh well. These debates, regardless of how neutrally, that's referring directly to Lindsay Shepherd. These debates, regardless of how neutrally they are presented, constitute a form of epistemic violence. Epistemic violence. Words are now violence. disagreement and ideas are now violent. That dehumanizes trans people by denying the validity of trans experience. So by saying, I disagree with you, I am therefore denying the validity of you, which dehumanizes you, and dehumanizing people is the first step to genocide. So therefore, ideas are violent. Therefore, a violent response is justified. Therefore, it's okay to punch a Nazi. Because, we don't like what Nazis say. And all people who disagree with us are violent people because their ideas are violent. Therefore, we need to respond to violent people with violence. That is their chain of logic. Do you not see how dangerous this is? In this context, I'm going to pause here. Now they go into advocating censorship. In this context, we must respond to the enactment and maintenance of transphobia and problematize media. Is that even a word? Problematize. I don't even know if that's a word. Media that upholds transphobic ideologies. Silence people. We should take students' concerns about their safety and well-being as a result of the intensification of these ideologies on campus very seriously. A 5-minute video of a debate about pronouns is now intensifying and bringing about transphobia because it legitimized a so-called alt-right position. First, Jordan Peterson isn't alt-right. Second of all, he's not associated with Rebel Media other than he's done interviews there. And third, Rebel Media isn't alt-right either. Rebel Media is Rebel Media. We should take students' concerns about their safety and well-being as very seriously. These concerns are real, with students accessing the Rainbow Center for support around experiences of harassment in their classrooms on campus and in online forums as a result of this increased media attention. Oh yes, in the last few days, because media has put this, anyone who is gay is now being gay bashed, anyone who's trans been trans bashed on the university campus. Now, that hasn't happened. I don't believe that for a minute. What I believe is people are more aware and therefore they seem to be more sensitive to a look, a comment, an idea, that they may think someone is thinking something about them, but the reality is most people don't give a crap. With antagonizing posters being left on our windows and emails criticizing our educational initiatives around Transgender Day of Remembrance. Who cares? Do your thing. And by the way, if you disagree with these people, leave them alone. Just let them do their thing. These experiences of transphobia and their aforementioned implications are the realities in which our conversations about this issue need to be embedded. We all have a responsibility to create an environment for learning and living in which trans people are safe from epistemic and transphobic violence. Most of you already are safe. The amount of violence that happens is minimal. And yeah, it's wrong. I agree. It is absolutely wrong. If you see a trans person, just leave them alone. If you see a homosexual person, leave them alone. Let them live their life. What they do doesn't affect you. Unless they're raping you, and that's another issue altogether. But most of the time, they just want to be left alone. You want to be left alone. You know what? Live and let live. It's really not that difficult to figure out. So what's the problem here? I know, to these guys, disagreement is violence. Listen to this. We all have a responsibility to speak out about these issues. Yes, that includes me, who disagrees with a few things that you say. And we call on our allies who have remained silent to please take a stance. This political moment is intent on derogating trans people in the name of freedom of speech, and we cannot allow for this profound violence to be continued. Once again, speech, ideas are violent in the minds of these people. That is a serious problem, and the implications are terrifying. You can find me on Patreon, Twitter, Minds.com, SC Britain. On Minds.com and Patreon, you can become a subscriber or a supporter. It would be greatly appreciated. It's never expected, but it's always appreciated, of course. And, of course, you can also find me on Facebook, Steve Speaks Freely. And that's it for today. I'll talk to you on Monday.